All right, so this is the kind of question you have. What are the paragraph tags? And you should know. They're P and P. That makes sense? All right. Number 2, what's the largest type of heading? Those H1s through H6, which is the biggest one? H1. That makes sense? Now, you won't be asked it like that. It'll say something like, which is the largest heading tag? And it'll show you like A, H1, B, H2. That's the way the questions will be. All right? Any questions on those first two? Everybody have them down so I can scroll a little? All right, number 3. What do you use for a line break tag? Anybody remember that? How do you force a line break? What's that? BR. That's a line break. And it means break. Now you'll sometimes see it. This is one time where you do put the slash on the end. That's the way you used to have to do it, with a slash. So sometimes you see it like that, but this is the true tag right there. All right. Number 4, what tags do you use for a navigation area? The answer's in the question. What tags? Nav. Does all that make sense? Questions on any of those first 4? All right. Number 5, what's the difference between the head section and the body section?
Things in the head section don't show up on the actual
Right.
page.
Things in the head section don't show on the web page. Things in the body section do. All right. Now, let's make this simple for number 6. What tags do you use for an ordered list? Oops. And an ordered, I'm sorry, that asks for an unordered. Yeah, what's an ordered list? An ordered list has some order to it, correct? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or it's A, B, C, D, E, or it's Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So they are lists that it's implied that there's some order. An unordered list, it's the same, but instead of OL, you use UL. So unordered lists are for lists that don't necessarily have any order to them. Does that make sense? Because these are things that are going to have to just click. All right. And you may remember, what's a definition list? It's kind of, it's a list of terms, basically. If you remember, we looked at that one. I said it's not used often. Right, it's, whoops. It's for a list of terms. And you are correct. It uses DT for definition term. And actually it uses DL for definition list, DT for definition term, and DD for definition. It uses all those. It's a little more complex of a tag. All right? If you just remember that it's used for a list of terms, you should be all right. Questions on any of those first 7 items? There will be 28 questions. Those are the first 7. You won't be surprised when you see them. Yes. That one?
Like all the way to the top there. Alright, thank you.
What are list items? The smart ass answers, they're items in a list. And again, I get that. But you use list items. They're used with ordered lists and unordered lists, right? They are the items that are in there. If you remember yesterday, I showed you wake up, go to the bathroom, etc. And we looked at it in an ordered list, and then we looked at it in an unordered list. In both cases, both times, all right, both times they had a they had LIs in there, all right, for the list items. Any questions on any of those first 9? All right, number 10. What are the tags used for a definition list? Many times the answer's in the question. I would say they probably would be DL. Oops, geez, Louise. DL and DL. DL for definition list. All right. You may or may not remember yesterday, but we did look quickly at a block quote. That's the thing I showed you with a penny saved is a penny earned by Benjamin Franklin. You may or may not remember, but what the block quote does is it moves, text away from the right and left margins. Right? That's its job. It doesn't exactly center text, but it moves it over further. All right? Any questions on any of those first 11? Anything? Again, I am taping this, so if you wanted to go back and look at it too, you'd be able to. All right, number 12. What's the character entity that you use for a blank space? Starts with an ampersand. What is the rest of it? NBSP. Actually, NBSP semicolon for non-breaking space. All right, 13 and 14 are basically the same question, but one deals with italicizing and one deals with bolding. So what's the difference between the I tag and the M tag?
I is outdated.
I is outdated. M is the one recommended because it works better with all kinds of devices. So again, I, outdated. M works with all types of devices. And the good news is I can now take this, copy it to the clipboard, paste it in here, and say that B is outdated and strong works with all types of devices. This should be stuff, after we went through and looked at this yesterday, this should make sense to you. Again, if there's something you don't remember or something you think I put in incorrectly or whatever, you'll have to go back and review either the PDF copy of the book or your own copy of the book. Any questions on those first 14? All right, number 15. What tag do you use to link documents to one another? This is what we used. Remember, we had that home, services, and contact. So what tag did we have to use with all those? The A tag. A for anchor. All right. Do you remember yesterday when I showed you that anchor link, when we first looked at it, we jumped out to Google, and I jumped out to Rankin too. Those are fully qualified URLs. That's what a fully qualified URL is. So, why would you normally, or when would you normally use a fully qualified URL in a hyperlink? If you wanted to go to a different website. All right? This one I didn't go into yesterday. If you use mail to, so in other words, just to show you this, and I'll erase it right away because I know it makes it hard to read. But if I say a href equal, and I put in here, for example, mail to JP Scott at rankin.edu, and I'll put here Jeff Scott. if I put that in with a mail to, what that'll do is it'll say Jeff Scott, and it'll be hyperlinked, so there'll be a line underneath it. But if you click that, that'll bring up Outlook or whatever you're using for your mail, and it'll be sending me an email. Does that make sense? So what does the mail to, what is the function of it? To allow you to basically create a link to someone's email address. Does that make sense? And if that confuses you, try it. You're going to have time today to work on this stuff. Now that isn't exactly the way it's listed in the on the test, but it's something like that. All right. Show an example of a valid link. I don't know why there's a question mark there. But one thing that you shouldn't do, we didn't talk about this yet, but you'll see it in later chapters. You shouldn't say something like this. Okay? You shouldn't say something like click. I'm going to erase this, so don't write this down. This is what you shouldn't do. All right? And I'm going to say href equals www.rankin.edu. Here. Why do you think that's that's kind of a bad way to do things? First of all, what's hyperlinked when we do this? What's the hyperlink? Here. Here is considered a bad thing because it doesn't show somebody what here means. So in other words, it should say click to go to Rankin's website, something like that. See the difference? Now the hyperlink is going to say Rankin's website. So you will be asked a question and they'll give you 4 examples. All right? You should pick the one that's most like this. Okay? All right. Next, the text between title tags. What about it? Well, the text between title tags is shown in the tab at the top of the screen. Now, I'll come right back to it, but please look on here. That's what I mean. The text in the title tag shows up here. Does that make sense to everybody? These are fundamental things. We're going to go over them now. And once we go over them, it's expected that you know them, all right, in what we do from here on out. Next, what is the meta tag? What is a meta tag shown in a document? Basically, a meta tag is data about data. It's in the head section. And the example that we saw was, if you remember this, meta char set equals UTF-8. That was an example of one that we looked at yesterday. That's not the only meta tag. As we get deeper and deeper into this, you'll see additional tags. Everybody hear that? But this is the meta tag that we care about for now. It's in the head section, which means it doesn't display on the screen. But it gives data to the system, and it lets it know in this case that the character set we're using is Unicode. All right? All right, I want you to answer this one. Somebody tell me, give me a tag that doesn't have a closing tag. This was the answer to one of the other questions. Break. That's an example. There are other ones. But just as an example, that's one that we've looked at so far that doesn't require a closing tag. So in other words, don't do this. That doesn't make sense to the system. That's really erroneous. If you say, well, it worked, well, it's not the way you're supposed to do things. That's all I can tell you. Questions. First 21 questions. Any questions? All right, 22. Name a tag that does not, that should be show show in the head section. And there will be stuff in there like there'll be meta. Remember, meta is in the head section. Title is in the head section. But then there'll be something like H1 or H2. That's an example of a tag. Which section does H1 go into? Not the head, but which section? The body. All right? All right. Number 23. Which tag is used for uppercase letters? And I think it's style. I don't remember, but I think it's style equal A. I think it looks like that with an S. It's in your book. All right, so we can go back and take a look at it. It was one of the things that we looked at yesterday, but we kind of ran through it quickly. Let's see. And it's not style equal. I am incorrect. It is type equal. So you will say here type equal A. If instead of putting a big A, you put a small a, there'll be lowercase letters. If you put a lowercase I in there, it'll be lowercase Roman numerals. In uppercase I, it'll be uppercase Roman numerals. If you don't put it in there at all, it'll be numbers. All right? Because the default style is numbers. All right. Read the questions carefully. What is the purpose of the header element? That's not the head. That's the header. All right? And again, that was shown in the book towards the end of the chapter. We had that one page, I'm trying to remember what page it was, that started talking about the newer tags. All right, it was page 48. Basically, its job is to contain headings. I know it sounds funny because it's called header. Those headings are usually at the top of the document, but you can put a header tag anywhere. We'll see that later on as the class goes on. And also I'll put in here, typically at the top of the document or on top of the web page. All right, number 25, the footer, that contains, it's at the bottom, not the top of the page, it's at the bottom of the page. Footer, you know, you think foot, your foot's at your bottom of your body. All right, that has, we put the, yesterday, if you remember, we put the copyright, by, etc. in there. Sometimes you'll see legal disclaimer and there'll be a hyperlink to that. All right. Questions on any of the first 25? All right, 26. It almost sounds like a stupid answer. What is the purpose of the main element? All right, and on page 48 in your book, it says contains the main content of the web page. You know, no rocket science here. Number 27, what is the title element used for? We already talked about this. It shows the title of the web page in a tab at the top of the screen. And the last question that's in here, I want you to answer it. I want you to tell me, what are the two sections that are in a web page? One of them shows on the web page and one of them does not. So what are they? Come on, you got to know this. We already went over it. What? Head and body. That's it. Head and body. Any questions on any of those, to scroll up, scroll down. Again, all those answers are in the book, in the Chapter 2 material. There'll be 28 questions. 26 of them, the first 26, are multiple choice. The last two, these two that you see here, they're true false. All right? I didn't write the test. They come from the author. If there's something that's in there, the wording is funny or you don't understand it, you can ask that. But it's it's closed book, closed nose. All right. We've also developed a new policy here because in the past I'd let people, put on headphones or whatever. You're not supposed to do that either. The other thing is, and it's not that I don't trust you, it really truly isn't, but while you're taking it, I'm supposed to walk around. So you'll see me get up a couple times and walk around. All right? And no talking, etc. You get that. My guess is that all of you will be finished within a half an hour, if not earlier. If you need more time, it's not a problem. If you do have some kind of a documented learning disability, and I don't know about it, because I don't know of anyone in here who has any, but if anyone does, you have to let me know, even if you've let Jeremy Sutton know already, who's our site director, and if you do need more time, I can give you more time. It's not a problem. All right? Any other questions on this? I'm just putting this away for now. All right? Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of other things here. I already showed you this stuff. Okay, so I think I've got the attendance in there. Yep, so you're all here today. That's good. On the YouTube channel, just so you know, if you care, I've already put out there there's chapter 1 lecture from yesterday. There's the chapter 2, which was a 2-part lecture from yesterday. So that's there if you need additional help. All right. The other thing that I want to mention to you, I don't need that anymore either. As we go into this, okay, somebody had asked me about this morning, and I'm always supposed to start out every day, and I probably didn't do it every day, but day one, you know what we did. We had the orientation, etc. Yesterday, so we got a little behind, but yesterday we did those hands-on practices. I stretched it out, so instead of it being due day 2, it's due Friday. Many of you have turned it in already. Everybody who's turned it in, it will be graded by tomorrow. All right, if you haven't turned it in yet, you've got it done, please just email me the whole folder. All right? Okay, so complete all the labs for Chapter 2, including. So you are supposed to do these. That was a question that got asked. So you are supposed to go and do the hands-on exercises, and for Chapter 2, those hands-on exercises are on page 65. If you're not there, please go there and take a look at that. All right, it says, write the HTML to display your name with the largest heading element, etc. I mean, what would that be? So I'd use an H1 tag, and I'd put my name in there, correct? If you want, you can create a simple page and do as many of these on the same page as you want to. Does that make sense? All right. Some people complain here, and they say, you give way too much homework. All right. You'll draw your own conclusions. One thing I'm not going to make you do is if you take a look in here, on the syllabus, this doesn't say Fish Creek. On the syllabus, it says Java Jam. At the end of each chapter in this book, all 14 chapters with the exception of 1 or 2 chapters, they have several running case studies. All right? The one that I did this semester was Fish Creek. You don't have to do it, but if you want to, you can. And if you look here, you'll notice, as I peruse my way through here, there is Fish Creek. there is Fish Creek. I've gone over all of those for chapters 1 through 14. So if you want to try them yourselves, you can. If you go, I don't have time to do that, then don't do that. I would say, especially if you feel yourself starting to struggle in here, that's what I would concentrate on, would be that stuff. All right? So the other thing that it says is, so that'll be due Friday as well. All right? That Fish Creek, the hands-on exercises 1 through 10. Okay? All right. So it says today, we're supposed to have a written test on Chapter 2. We ain't having it. We're having it tomorrow. All right? But we are going to have a test tomorrow on Chapter 2. Then we're going to have a test Friday on Chapter 3. So wait, we didn't go over Chapter 3 yet. We're going to do that today. All right? And we do go through it a little quickly when we start, but then the material gets more complex and we slow down. All right? But when we first start, this is the way that it's going to be. All right? So it says you are supposed to be reading, and that was, read Chapter 3, complete the hands-on practice. So you don't have to do the ones that are in the chapter like we did yesterday, but you have to do the ones at the end of the chapter. That's hands-on practice at the end of Chapter 3, and that is on pages 120 and 121. So we're going to go through the Chapter 3 material as a class today. Does that make sense? All right. And then, notice, complete all labs, hands-on exercises. My plan, tomorrow, we're going to do 3 things. First, you're going to come in here and take the test. We do that first thing. 8:05, I'm passing them out. They're in my office right now. They're hard copies. For some reason, it's supposed to link right to the internet, the stuff that she gave. It doesn't work, and I don't know why. You actually will like that. My policy is, let's suppose we have question 19 tomorrow. Okay, whatever 19 is. Let's say all 8 of you get it wrong. I don't think that'll happen, but let's say it happens. My policy, I throw that question out. I give you all credit for it. Now that said, don't joke. Don't all of you put the wrong answers for all 28 down? Because I had somebody ask that once. What if we all put all the wrong answers down? Well, then you all fail. All right? Because we've gone over this. There should be no surprises. There really and truly should not be. All right? So we're going to do that first. Second thing, I will email you tomorrow morning, just like we did today, a test review for Chapter 3. It'll take about a half an hour, about like this did. So between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock tomorrow, you will take the Chapter 2 test. Then we will do the Chapter 3 test review. You with me? So let's say it's 9 o'clock. The rest of the time is yours. You've got 2 hours and 50 minutes tomorrow, 9 o'clock until 11:50, to do all this work. All right? If you bust your back, etc., and get it all done, it means you don't have anything to do at home. All right? And Friday, all of that work will be due. So Friday, what will be due is what many of you have turned in already, which are the practice exercises for Chapter 2, the hands-on practice for Chapter 2, and the hands-on practice for Chapter 3. Does all that make sense? All right. Then on Friday, we'll have that written test, plus you're going to have your first hands-on test. So the written test will be about the first half hour, and then you'll have 2 hours and 50-some minutes, whatever, to do the regular written test. It's not going to be, anything that you're surprised with. It'll be taken almost right out of the book. It'll be something I have you create that's very similar to what you created in the book. The good news is, any hands-on test, open book, open notes. You can use the internet. I don't expect you to go on the internet and type in, show me a website that does this. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you to do that. All right? But that's what you'll do for the rest of the period. Then for the weekend, read Chapter 4. So if you look, next week, Monday we'll be going over Chapter 4. I'm sorry, we don't have class Monday. Tuesday, we'll be going over Chapter 4. All right? Wednesday, it looks like will be a lab day. And then Thursday, we'll already have a test on Chapter 4. All right? You'll start getting ready to go into Chapter 5, which is a very short chapter you're not tested on. And then Friday, of next week. So a week from tomorrow, we're already into chapter 6. So I know, like I said, it sounds like, my God, you're rushing through this. We're going to finish it in 3 or 4 weeks. No, we're not. It's going to take 40 days, which is 8 weeks. All right? And then when we get done with that, then we go into the other book. Are there any questions on anything I have just said? Good, bad, indifferent, like it, don't like it. I'm going to keep doing this. Every day I have to tell you what we've done and what we're going to do. That's what I've been charged with. All right? The Higher Learning Commission, which is the place that for lack of better words, grades all colleges, has come up and said that today's student, all right, there are a lot of different things that students in the past haven't been. One thing is they're easily distracted. You know, I'm not. Well, if you got your phone out right now, you're easily distracted. I'm not saying any of you have your phone out, but I see it happen all the time. Yesterday, I had a guest speaker come in and talk to my other class, and I saw 2 people monkeying with their phones, even though I said, please put your phones away, before she even got there. So the Higher Learning Commission has said, I don't know if you've ever heard this saying, you know, what's the key to public speaking? You walk in, you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and you tell them what you told them. That's the key to public speaking. That's what I'm doing. I've already told you what we're going to do. We're going to do it now. Then when you take the test, that's when you're showing me that you know what I told you. All right? And it's not going to change. The only thing is what you'll find is when we get into JavaScript, we'll be more hands-on than we are even now. Because the only way you learn programming is to program. It's like I was telling the second-year people yesterday. How do you learn how to do interviews? You interview. You know? And I told people, if you could start applying for jobs right now, well, what if I get hired? Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But, you know, I wouldn't worry about that if I were you, but especially if you know, I've got a couple people in that class, maybe I've told you this, they're super people. One of them, she's an A student. Yesterday, our guest speaker asked everybody a question. That's the first time I've ever heard her talk in class. I mean, she went a whole year and didn't really talk in class. All right? And in IT, that used to work because they put you in a dark room and you sat there for 8 hours a day, then they told you to go home afterward. It isn't the way it works anymore today. All right? You've got to be able to associate with other people, either internally or externally. All right, so that's it. Let's jump into Chapter 3. This is how I decided I wanted you to do this. Maybe it's the right way, maybe it's not, but it's the way we're going to do it. So, what do we got here? I went to 101. Okay, back up. All right, so we're about to start Chapter 3. What I would like you to do is, if you remember, yesterday we made this folder right here called Chapter 2. Everybody remember that? If you've got that, go out to your desktop. Go out to your desktop where you've got that folder. Right mouse click on it. Choose copy. Right mouse click on your desktop and choose paste. So you'll have 2 folders. One that says Chapter 2 and one that says Chapter 2 copy. Did I do that too fast? All right, then go in and click where it says Chapter 2 copy and change the name of that to Chapter 3. Okay? What I'm going to do, it's going to be not exactly the way that it's done in the book, but we're going to grab, remember that index file we created yesterday that had a bunch of garbage in it? We're going to use that, and we're going to style that. So we're going to add color, we're going to add different stuff to it. Does that make sense? All right? Now, I don't want to confuse you, but I want to tell you. So I'm going to sit there, and I'm going to open up now my Chapter 3 folder. All right? And then I'm going to right mouse click on the file that's called index.html, and I'm going to open it up with Notepad++. Again, you don't have to use Notepad++. You can use Atom, you can use brackets. There are other editors that are out there too. Some are free and some you have to pay for. All right? If I had my way, we would use something like an Adobe product. All right, because they do a lot of stuff for you, but the problem is those products aren't free. My budget to go and buy software for you, that would be $0. So that's why I find free stuff for you to use. All right, has everybody been able to bring that up? I'm asking you, because if you haven't, all right, then raise your hand.
Right-click index.
No, what I said, yes. What I said was, when you're here, if you've got these files, you either right mouse click and choose edit with notepad. You might have like an edit with, all right, or open with. You can use the open with too, and you want to choose notepad, okay? All right. So with that file open, we're going to do some stuff today, and please, I don't know if what I'm telling you right now makes sense or doesn't make sense. This page is going to look unbelievably ugly. Did you all hear that? We're going to take this page right there, that page, all right? And we're going to make stuff different colors. We're going to make it different sizes. We're going to make it shift to the left or the right on the screen. We're going to make it different fonts, etc. Does all that make sense? So I don't care that it looks ugly. That's totally fine. All right? I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to get started or you want to take an early break? Want to get started? All right. What I want to do is I want to take what I have been taping so far. I'm going to stop the tape and then start it up again. This will take about 1 minute to do.